The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone on the Talkstar Radio Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, UK High Definition Radio, Euro High Definition Radio, Star Cable, and X Zone TV. 1-800-610-7035, worldwide toll-free. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv at hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour is Peter O'Lawler, and he's the author of Shrouded in Mist, Physics and the Archaic Symbology of Metaphysics. And to demystify millennia of science, philosophy, and religion, I'm sure you would all agree, is no easy task. During archaic times and the thousands of years of wisdom acquired by the priests of Egypt, for example, there was no reference to science or philosophy. It wasn't even religion per se. The nature of existence of truth and knowledge was not merely the true belief of the ancient Greek philosophy. As civilization moved westward, X Zone Nation, through the Mediterranean, Europe, and across the Atlantic, the nature of existence or of truth and knowledge was and still remains in constant and often volatile conflict. It seems the world has settled on believing, but understanding where it all came from remains shrouded in the mists of time. Joining me now is Peter O'Lawler, I should say. And Mr. O'Lawler, welcome to the X Zone.
Thank you very much.
What was your inspiration, sir, for writing Shrouded in Mist?
I had a lot of time on my hands, and I had been writing poetry since I was 17. And I entered college with what the founders of America would consider a classical education. But I also, after 7 years as an altar boy and wanting to become a missionary, events happened that caused me to turn away, and I immersed myself in comparative theology. And what I discovered was a very long trail of why we know what we know and the sources of knowledge that give some civilizations and some cultures more power than others.
Why is religious conflict so often contrary to their founders' exemplary faith?
Well, we can look at, for example, Muhammad. Muhammad grew up along the Spice Road as a businessman, and his divine revelations brought to him by the Archangel Gabriel, who visited Mary, inspired him to write the Quran. Now, just like America's revolutionary generation, and all republics begin with the need to remedy political evil. So throughout history, whether it be Islam, republics, or America, people follow their heart, follow their passions, want to do good for the public good, establish something absolutely wonderful for the interest of each other, and then somewhere along the line, other people with different ideas take the original thought and make it into something it was never intended to be.
All right, sir, hold that thought. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exo Nation, my very special guest this hour is Peter O'Lawler. He's the author of Shrouded in Mist, Physics and Archaic Symbology of Metaphysics. And we're going to be back on the other side of this commercial break. And if you'd like to get a copy of Shrouded in Mist, the website is www.amazon.com. That's right, it's available at amazon.com. We'll be back on the other side of this short 2-minute commercial break as we continue in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Peter O'Lawler is our special guest this hour. He's the author of Shrouded in Mist, Physics and the Archaic Symbology of Metaphysics. It's available at amazon.com. Before we went to the commercial break, we were talking about, how religious conflicts often are contrary to the founder's faith. Now, what does it mean, in your opinion, to exemplify the ethical behavior of Jesus, for example?
This is so very important. The early church, before the Vatican, or rather Nicene Council in 471 AD, the early church was concerned with following the ethical behavior of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And this, of course, is based in love, which I hope we get to talk about. But the ethical behavior of Jesus is, imagine the violent times, the immense poverty, the ignorance, the loss of faith in an afterworld, and then comes along this message, be good to each other. Ethics was, throughout history, very, very important. How you treat another person. The golden rule among the founders of the revolutionary generation was the one they considered most important. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So, many Catholics may not necessarily be Christians, and many Christians may not be Catholics. Many Protestants may not be Christians, and many Christians may not be Protestants. But the idea before the Nicene Council was to be a Christian meant to exemplify the ethical behavior of Jesus, which referred to how you treat other people.
So, what is love then, sir?
Well, love is something I really like talking about when I teach philosophy, because it's a often confusing concept. If we look at psychology, at the biological basis of behavior, we will find what's called objective love, which, for example, I love chocolate, I love cars, I love women, I love the outdoors, I love fishing, blah, blah, blah. Any kind of thing that you love that gives you satisfaction or pleasure is objective love. Now, Dr. Scott Peck wrote a book called The Road Less Traveled, and he perfectly demonstrates the idea, without mentioning Christian love, that love is a mutual investment in one's own and another's personal growth. For example, the patience it takes a parent to listen to a 5-year-old spew on for a half an hour without having the vocabulary to express the impression a butterfly or a sunset makes upon them. The patience it takes to raise children and invest in their personal growth and guide them and direct them to use and follow their own potential without you imposing your ego on what you want their dreams to be. So love is either objective, I love chocolate, or love is a mutual investment in one's own and another's personal growth.
All right,
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Then how about knowledge?
Well, this is very cool because, especially when I teach philosophy, there is a Greek, first of all, philosophy means love of wisdom. But I have never yet have had a student ask, well, what's wisdom? Well, the ancients who came far before the Greeks knew very well that wisdom was the understanding of knowledge. And if we look at Genesis, we can find that there are 3 trees in the Garden of Eden: the tree of life, the tree of good and evil, and the tree of knowledge. The tree that they ate from was the tree of knowledge. And by acquiring knowledge, they lost understanding. And I'm sorry, repeat the question again?
I just asked you, what is knowledge? We were talking about knowledge. Huh?
So in Greek philosophy, it is referred to as epistemology. Just because you believe something to be true doesn't necessarily make it knowledge. It makes it true belief. So whether you be a victor, a conqueror, a writer of history, you're the one or ones that determine what is knowledge and what is not. And we can certainly extrapolate that to areas of science, and especially modern physics, that knowledge is not absolute.
All right, so if we look at religion as a whole, for example, what's the difference between Buddhism or Gautama Buddha's Buddhism?
Okay. Gautama was born a prince, had everything going for him, didn't need a thing. However, what he saw as he witnessed the world was a lot of grief and a lot of suffering. And he really wanted to understand why people didn't seek satisfaction, why people could not acquire happiness. And when a person today practices Buddhism, they're looking to liberate their self from the world of illusion, the world of darkness, their own physical, intellectual capacity, their own base instincts. But Buddha had Mahayanism, which referred to the liberation of humanity as a whole. And I talk a lot about that in my book.
Why are there so many different religions?
Well, we can use anthropology to answer that question. But we always have a wrench in the works. For example, my professor in sociology, and I went to this documentary, and it showed that around the world, all cultures evolved at the same rate, at the same time, with the same means, and slowly gained an identity which eventually separated themselves from others. However, after the documentary, I said to my professor, Professor Polanski, that documentary is really missing something, and that would be the origins of Europe. And she said, well, I'm surprised anyone would notice that. And I said, well, it doesn't fit into the thesis of the documentary, because in Europe, they had medicine and magic before they had weapons and war. And they certainly don't fit into the timeline of everyone around the globe evolving through their cultures at the same rate, at the same time, by the same means. And she admitted that it is a part of marketing that we, start people off with these hypotheses to introduce them to anthropology and sociology. So there are different religions because we have to consider the esoteric wisdom of the ancients that came far before the Greeks. Now, for example, the subtitle of the book is Physics and the Archaic Symbology of Metaphysics, correct?
Correct.
Now, science in the Western world has grown to follow a certain formula. Once I gave a 3-class multimedia presentation on human evolution that covered 4.2 million years. However, it didn't contradict creation once. Now, where was I? Why there are so many religions?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, okay. If we follow the evolution of cultures and the migration of humanity, we might follow the Indo-European language that came from India on its way to Europe. But a lot happened in between. For example, in Egypt, a god or goddess can only be understood by what they wear on their head. Now, Isis is the only goddess or god who wears more than one crown. But the most ancient crown is a seat.
Oh, okay. Listen, I hate to do this, too, because I'm thoroughly enjoying our conversation. You and I have to take a news break, sir. So please stand
do.
by. Exonation, Peter O'Lawler is our special guest. His book is available at Amazon.com, and we'll be back on the other side of this news break. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Exonation, Peter O'Lawler is our special guest. He's the author of Shrouded in Mist, Physics and Archaic Symbology of Metaphysics. It's available at Amazon.com. Peter, when it comes to the present crisis that we're finding in America these days, do racial, religious, or radical religious groups despise or hate Americans or their government? And do they covert interventionist policies?
Yeah, I would like to answer that very much, but could I just conclude the last question?
I'm sorry about that.
As to why there are so many religions. In searching for the existence of truth and knowledge is the point at which different religions became distinct in their search. And the synthesis of science, philosophy, and religion of archaic times slowly separated and became distinct entities, and along with those entities came the religions associated with that search for truth and knowledge. Now, please ask your question again.
Sure. Do radical religious groups despise or hate Americans or their governments?
Well, when I lived in France, I was often privy to many a party where conversations abounded with what America is really all about. And I always had to insist, when you refer to America's foreign policies or the interventionist actions, please refer to the American government and not the American people. I do not believe that anyone from a Muslim to a Russian hates or even dislikes Americans. However, what I found, especially through teaching, that students were often astounded at the actions of their federal government throughout the world. So the answer is no. They do not hate Americans, but they certainly do not trust the American government.
How does greed and violence of capitalism contribute to furthering religious conflicts?
Well, that's a big question. The Founding Fathers, and you can refer to George Washington's farewell address, for mention of morality in government, especially with trade and other nations. That morality and religion certainly enjoin this. They believed that this new era of capitalism was going to usher in a wonderful world, excuse the paraphrase, where everyone was going to get along. But we know people can be and are basically greedy and violent unless there's something to stop it. Problem is, nothing is stopping it. For example, today's issues in America is outsourcing. I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, we're losing jobs. But what they don't realize is they're losing tax money. These foreign corporations go into foreign countries and can do in foreign countries what they can't do at home. There are no EPA standards to follow. They can pollute all they want. They can hire, work, and pay whatever they want. And that is certainly greed. Now, the violence, in America, as a scholar of, I wrote a book called The Never Realized Republic, Political Economy and Republican Virtue. Mm-hmm. There is an old adage that Roman virtue, or their desire to do good, was the expansion and domination of trade backed by an elite military. And whenever I say that to students or others, I always say, remind you of anyone? Because this expansion and domination of trade is backed by interventionist policies enforced by violence. Now, for example, we know that Afghanistan became a colony in 1812 belonging to Russia. Mm-hmm. And we know in 1948, when Israel was going to become a nation through the United Nations, there was this little boy in Saudi Arabia whose father was a millionaire owning a long chain of laundromats. And when he grew up and got his money, he wanted to go to Afghanistan and help the Afghan rebels get rid of the Russians. Now, at this time, and your listeners should see the movie Lord of War, and it will explain a lot about the legal and illegal sale of armaments and how some countries, especially the permanent members of the Security Council in the United Nations, America, the United Kingdom, France, and Russia, determine who can buy and sell armaments. Now, this 10-year war in in Afghanistan, to get the Russians out, ended. And that 10-year war had involvement with certain foreign countries who gave them money and weapons to do it. When the Russians finally left, or literally gave up, these Afghan rebels turned around and said, thank you very much. We really appreciate you helping getting the Russians out of here. When are you leaving? And this foreign country who helped them with armaments and money turned around and said, we're not leaving. This began a long line of conflict with this foreign power, and they made it very clear mm-hmm. that this little boy who heard his father rant and rave that if Israel was going to be made a nation in 1948, they're going to be a puppet of the of America. This little boy grew up to be Osama bin Laden, and he was the leader of the Afghan rebels that got the Russians out of Afghanistan. And he said, if you, this foreign country that gave them aid of weapons and money, if you do not leave, it looks like our war is going to be with you. Now, if you follow history in the past 20 years, you will find an escalation of violence against the people who provided them support to begin with, but then didn't want to leave. And they made it very clear. First it was the attack on the USS Cole, then it was the attack on the Somalia U.S. Embassy, and then all hell broke loose. And because of certain Western powers, this religious conflict of Islam, first of all, unnecessary, reinforced by the greed and violence of corporations that support foreign policy, is spreading like wildfire. If people know the history of America and the Philippines, they will understand why they have no trust. And they want to have some cathexis, resolution, and they want these interventionist policies to stop. And they just like the religions, they want to be left alone. They want the right, for example, Declaration of Independence. A lot of Americans don't understand what unalienable rights are. And it's simply rights not granted can't be taken away. And Americans have the unalienable right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. So why can't everyone else have that right? Because of corporations and foreign policies that are doing things in foreign countries that they could not do at home. So this conflict is not only caused by the West, the consequences of it are caused by the West.
So tell me, sir, in your opinion, will the friction that is being created in New York City, for example, with the placement of a mosque within 2 blocks of Ground Zero, and the burning of Qurans, or the attempt to burn Qurans by Pastor Jones in Florida, will this ever cease?
Not only will it not cease, but the problem is that, for example, some states actually burn books by American authors. And as far as the mosque goes, I think the First Amendment of freedom of expression and the freedom of religion, if people, and this is my problem as a scholar, trying to teach how the revolutionaries' vision and the purpose of their revolution was severely altered in the 1790s. Americans do not, like Europeans, teach history as causes and motivations. They teach it as dates and events. Who cares about dates and events? Every American will tell you, almost everyone, history is boring. We don't want to understand, but it's because of the way they teach it. Now, if anyone was to read the Quran, they would know that violence and greed are not acceptable to Muhammad, peace be on him. And the ethical behavior of Jesus, greed and violence, not acceptable, peace be on him. Buddha, every great religious leader, from George Washington to Thomas Jefferson to Samuel Adams, greed and violence are not acceptable in human behavior. And let's talk about ethics, the moral philosophy. The Greek moral philosophy was translated by the Romans as ethics. By the 20th century, that grew into normative, applied, and meta-ethics. And in the early 21st century, we have ethics all over the place. We have corporate ethics, we have ethics with police, we have ethics in the Senate, we have ethics with HIPAA. that's supposed to guide your private information and ethics this and ethics that. But like understanding religions, people that are different from you, they don't. And where are the people who want to teach it? There is an obstruction of the flow of information, not only in history, but contemporary events that keep Americans in the dark. And they should, as Americans, knowing their right of the freedom of expression, the freedom of speech, which includes the freedom to be heard, they have every right to be true to their faith, not true to the radicalism and the conflict, regardless of who created it.
All right, sir, please stand by. You and I have to take our final break. Exonation, Peter O'Lawler is our special guest. His book can be found at Amazon.com, and the name of his book, well, one of his books, is Shrouded in Mist. If you'd like to find out the other books that Peter has written, all you do is go to Amazon.com and type in his name, PeterO'Lalor. That's PeterO'Lawler.com. I'll be back on the other side of this short break as we continue here in the X Zone from our studios in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Our website is www.xzoneradiotv.com. We'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Hi everyone, Rob McConnell here, and I wanted to spend a moment on internet streaming. Everybody has heard about internet streaming, but not many know much about it. Did you know the internet streams just about everything?
Movies.
From new releases to old classics.
TV shows.
Almost every show, every episode, and much more. But the question has always been, how do you do it? Well now, thanks to the folks at 123 Ready TV, I have the answer for you. They have developed a simple program app, 123 Ready TV, that you install on your Windows PC, Android smartphone, or Android tablet that can have you streaming like a pro in less than 5 minutes. You truly won't believe how much is available or how easy it is to do until you try. And for a one-time cost of only $19.99, this product is a real winner. To learn more about 123 Ready TV, visit our website at www.xzbn.net.
Exonation, Peter O'Lawler is our special guest this hour. He is the author of a very interesting book, Shrouded in Mist. It's available at Amazon.com. And Peter, I was wondering if you could give me your take on life after death. What happens to us when we die?
I like to start. How long is our segment now?
We've got about 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes. Okay. All right. Well, I better cut this short. It all depends on where your head and heart is. Mm-hmm. Now, the ancients refer to what the Kabbalah calls the tree of life. Some people call it the involution of spirit and the succession of worlds. What a physicist would call the Big Bang, the Hindus would call the exhalation of Brahma. Now, sometimes a violent death keeps people from believing or understanding they have died. And consider this expression for a moment. All things exist in the same space, but on different dimensions. And there is the path leading beyond the Big Bang. Now, we are physical and intellectual, as well as psychic and spiritual. Our physical, intellectual capacity is our body, our ego, our identity. We are not our body, and our body is not us. Now, sometimes a violent death keeps people from believing or understanding they have died. And this is usually temporary, but love seeks the light and the divine, and this being will transcend. To love and be loved is the catalyst for surviving one's death. It is said that all memories of love remain, while the poorest memories reside in the person's shadow, their vehicle, or the shell of the person that was once there, their personality or their identity that eventually fades. If the soul does not separate from the shadow, it is then that they wander through the shadows of their previous life. The violent deaths are those spirits that yell and wail and don't really understand all whom they have loved cannot see them. But when they are ready, they too will return. The most pitied are those with anger and resentment for loss of life or a deep lust for physical being. Their desire for living is so great that they will not to leave. When they see they cannot participate in the objects of sensation and desire, they are said to go mad. These are the lost souls, the chain bangers, the wall pounders, the malevolent spirits who are said to be living in hell on earth. Their loss, confusion, and denial of their very existence leave them trapped.
Peter, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a great pleasure talking to you, sir. Continued success. And we'll have to continue this conversation on another show because I know you and I still have so much to talk about.
Wonderful. That would be so great. And thank you again for inviting me.
Mr. O'Lawler, it's been my great pleasure. Exonation Peter O'Lawler has been our guest this hour. If you'd like to find Peter's books, just go to Amazon.com and in the top search, just type in Peter O'Lawler. That's O''Lalor. We'll be back after this news break. Don't go away.